Hello. So, good morning. Right, so this is my April wrap up, and I'll be bringing 13 books. I'll be talking about 13 books, and out of which I read 13 of them, and out of which I dropped one, I dumped one of them. So, all of them are in English, and there are some of them are English writers, some are Japanese, and there's one Syrian writer. And at the same time, something that I thought was if I tell you the stories, if I give you this summary of the books, that ruins your perspective of the book, and at the same time you lose the excitement. So I'll simply briefly tell you how I felt, what my perspective is, and I'll be giving the stars, right? So out of 5 stars, how many stars I would give, right? So first up was one more thing. I read all these books except for one. All of them are ebooks because I had to resort to, like, there was this certain situation where I had to resort to ebooks, not going on buying them. So right. So the first up is the Starling House. This is written by Alex Harrow, and well, it's a fantasy romance, and I would give 3 stars, to be honest, because I felt the plot could have been more developed, and since it's an adult fantasy, there could be more gravity to the story. So I'm not going to tell anything about the characters or anything because, like I said, you need to have your own excitement of reading. Right, so I'm sorry about the lighting. It's just sunrise, sun is up. Right. So the next one was the Traveling Cat Chronicles. This is written by Hiro Arikawa, a Japanese writer. I would give 4 stars. So using a cat, he tells another story. The cat is the main character, not entirely. There's another main character in the story, like Satoru. It's very difficult, hold the story back. But then, yeah. So he uses the image of a certain cat he adopts, and he tells us a very moving story throughout that. So why I gave 4 stars was, I thought, like, maybe because I keep on reading a lot of books, maybe I expect more out of the story. Right, moving on to the third one. This was actually recommended by one of my students, now a friend actually. This is Parables of the Sower, written by Victoria Butler, and she's actually a sci-fi writer, like a female sci-fi writer. There's not much being talked about her in the Sri Lankan reading community. So I thought, like, she thought the person who recommended the book, she has posted there was this one post on Facebook where I took interest that she has posted about Victoria Butler. So I took up the book and I read it, and I would give 5 stars. Uh, it's a dystopian story. The setting is dystopian. So after reading the book, I just felt a lot of, like, there was a huge effect on me, and I needed some time off because it was a lot to take in. Because since it's a sci-fi and a dystopian one, there was this certain feeling that I need to read something that's relaxing. But at the same time, it's superb writing, and I would recommend reading. And then the next one up was The House in the Cerulean Sea, written by T.J. Klune. It's an adult fantasy. It seems like when you go on reading, it sounds like something which is written for the kids or middle school or high school or whatever. But then I think it's actually an adult fantasy, and I would give 4.5 stars because when you go on reading, like, underneath the story or the plot that he weaves, there's a lot that adults can learn, that could go in different themes, like marginalizing people based on who they are and their identity. Um, a lot of themes like that. Right, the next up was Born a Crime. This is the autobiography of Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is he is a renowned comedian, stand-up comedian. So those who know Trevor Noah, I think you need to read. This is a must read. I think out of all the books I read in April, uh, there's another book which I loved, but this is since it's an autobiography, I think that was the that's the book that I love the most, apart from the other one. Well, this is actually, I think this has to be read by those who are interested in literature, because this is a contemporary story, not actually contemporary, but it is contemporary story, and it's real events that he brings up, and I think you need to read it. It's not difficult to read. The language is very simple, and he brings out a lot of things like politics, economics, and then a lot of things about the language, how it's used as a weapon and a tool, and how he could navigate in his life to what he is now using the language. So there's a lot that you can gain out of it, and I would rather recommend it for those who are studying literature. And right, so the next up is. Well, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Taylor Jenkins Reid is the writer, and I would give 5 stars to that too. It's a novel. It has romance, it has a lot of things, and I love Evelyn Hugo's the protagonist, right? I love Evelyn Hugo's voice. It's very feministic, the book, and it's a very strong female voice. I loved her character. Like still, like I love her character, and even the narrator of the story. That's another very strong female voice. But more than that, it's Evelyn Hugo's voice that comes out. Right. So that's a 5 stars. Must read. I know I'm like quite late in reading because some of these books were like released in 2019 and 2020. So, well, this is my reading time, anyways. Right. The next up, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, written by Zulfa Kato. This was recommended to me by one of the friends I have on my reading community. I have this reading community where we discuss regarding books. So she recommended it to me. So yeah. So this is a Syrian writer. I would give 5 stars to the book. This is a must read because when you start reading, you really actually understand what's going on in Syria and how they feel, and the war, how much of a damage it brings. This actually has a very strong impact on you when you read it. And it's a must read. So it's with very like so much of difficulty that I hold back telling you the story. So yeah, a must read. And then up was Bride by Ali Hazelwood, but unfortunately I dumped it. It's it's smart and not my taste, I guess. So I dumped it. I'm sorry. And then here comes the book I love the most, apart from Trevor Noah's autobiography, Born a Crime. This is the other one, The Song of Achilles, written by Madeline Miller. It's historical. Yeah, genre would be historical. So it's history rewritten. I would give 5 stars to this, and if there were more stars, I would say 7 stars because I love it so much. I was like my entire soul was shattered to pieces when I read it. Once I finished off, like I still can't get out of the feelings that I had when I read The Song of Achilles. And it's a must read, and of course the the students who are studying, or anybody who's studying English literature, I think you need to include this, like maybe in I don't know, high school or university curriculum. This has to be studied, this has to be dug in, and like maybe comparative literature, like maybe compare the two, the history that we know, or the history or the mythology that we have heard about Achilles, and this is history rewritten. So I think this has to be studied by those who are into literature. Right, so that's my favorite book out of the lot that I read, apart from Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. Right, the next up was I needed something, like after reading The Song of Achilles, I needed something light because I was broken to pieces. So I took up The Phone Box at the Edge of the World, written by Laura Messina. The story is set in Japan. I would give 3 stars, 3.5, 3, yeah, stars. So since it's set in Japan, it's a bit sad. Like the story is a sad story, and there are a lot of other themes that are touched upon. So I didn't have the real effect that I wanted. Like I needed to read something light, but then no. Well, still, it's a good read. If you are looking for something that's, I would say, calm, peaceful, well, you can go for that. Next up was the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I don't know why okay, I know why I picked it, because I needed something light, something different, something entirely that would, take me to another state of mind. So this is written by Laurie Gilmore. I was actually reminded of what do we call it, the Gilmore Girls, the TV series while I was reading. And this is small town romance trope, and I would give 3 stars. But at the same time, while reading this, I finished off reading. I read the book completely, but then at the same time, something that I realized was I'm not into romance. No, not this kind of romance. Not cheesy love stories. No, not my pick, not my taste, not my cup of tea. Right. The next up was The Guest Cat, written by the Japanese writer Takashi Hiraide. I would give 3.5 stars. There were a lot of philosophical perspectives that were included using the cat's image. There is a cat in the book, yes, named Chibi, but at the same time, there's a lot of depth to the book, and more than telling, like, uh, the story of Chibi is also there, but at the same time, it's about life, and it's a lot, right? There were a lot of themes, but at the same time, I think the writer Takashi Hiraide, he has used the cat's image to observe uh, cats, and at the same time how he could apply the same image to the human life. So yeah, I would give 3.5 stars. And next up is Sweet Bean Paste, written by Durian Sukegawa. This is a Japanese writer. This is a, like, I would place it as a historical contemporary novel, and this is an easy read. Like, there are only about 150 pages, and I read it in one day. And then this is about the outbreak of leprosy uh, in the world, and then how it affected Japan, and it's presented through a very moving story. I would give 4.5 stars to this book. Right, so those were the books that I read. This is my April wrap up, and I would rather recommend reading. Right, so we'll meet again with another wrap up. See you again. Bye. Take care.